This computer. Okay, folks, thanks for dialing in and watching the session later on. We've got around 6, 7 people in the room, and we're going to discuss about how to handle your holiday season and not derail yourself as a triathlete, as most people will be slightly nervous about. Good news is there's a lot you can do. Okay, all right. Slideshow. Wrong current slide. Okay, cool. All right. So lots of people are going to get nervous about the holiday season and all the rest because it normally arrives in some element of their base period, and they're sort of going, "Oh no, I've got to do this, or how do I do that?" and all the rest. For me, again, I like to take a fairly common sense approach to this, as in letting your hair down for whatever the kind of 2 weeks when most of the places, when most of the world is just doing nothing and just overeating and overindulging. It's not such a bad thing. Now, obviously, we do, us being triathletes, do the stuff in a little bit of moderation. So here's your kind of do's and don'ts. Oops, we'll come back. Okay, and then okay. So for me, the do's don't. First thing is to embrace the holidays, right? And the key thing I'll try to get a point to, you will have a big long year of training and racing after this point in time, right? And whether or not you have whatever a couple of glasses of wine with dinner, or you have too much Christmas cake, la la la, it's not going to derail the season. So you just look at this time almost like to reset, enjoy yourself, act like a normal, not a non-triathlete for a little bit, and then but just also and then move forward. I do recommend you keep some sort of light training. Like if it, for us more mentally rather than physically, it would probably be kind of upsetting that we suddenly have like 3, 4 days where we have no training at all. So I'm all about adjusting the plan that you normally have a recovery week around Christmas and you have a couple of extra rest days and all the rest, but you do kind of a light recovery jog. You also remember that pools will shut down, the weather will be a bit crappy, etc. So sensible stuff like 6K recovery runs, kind of like easy turbos when you're watching a bit of TV, fit that in. Like a typical recovery week with the constraint, probably can't get much swimming done. So do keep ticking over. For a good rule of thumb is just if you're normally doing double days, just have like maximum one session a day. And again, it's also refreshing for you mentally and physically. And again, the second point is do eat, drink, and be merry. As in, I think most of the one-to-one squad, I do like putting in this literally as instead of a normal rest day, I put it in just don't sweat if you're people. There's always a lot of food and there's a lot of excess in going on around Christmas. Don't be the guy who's looking for broccoli for dessert. Just, you know what, like is that we train ourselves and we push ourselves very hard during the year. Just enjoy yourself. Make sure you're participating in like the family feeding, etc., and all the rest. Like, don't sweat it if you put on a couple of extra pounds over Christmas. It will come off once you get back into structured training. So do enjoy yourself. What I like to do personally is I always like to commit to some sort of little festive challenge or race. And in this, I always find that like there's typically a St. Stephen's Day, Boxing Day. I'm trying to think what the actual phrase for it will be in Malta or the States. That we have like a 5K race. There's typically that, or there's like a Christmas a St. Stephen's Day dip in the ocean and stuff like that. Like these are a bit of fun, and like the 5K races, road races can actually be quite competitive, and like they're a good way of actually earning your second dose of turkey on the Stephen's Day or Christmas or Boxing Day, and also it's one of these events where you're not taking it seriously, but you can involve the family. Like, so we, for example, down in Wicklow, there's the Streets of Wicklow 5K. So it's a 5K race, and I bring my kind of nieces and nephews down, and they get to run with Uncle Stephen, who is, this ridiculously person who runs all the time, and they kind of see, it's a bit of fun. It can be a bit of a laugh, and we don't have to kill ourselves. But it also puts something in the diary, that maybe you're going to bed at midnight on on Christmas Day, and maybe not having another glass of sherry. So look for something like that, and it's a good kind of way of actually keeping you grounded as a triathlete. Another do I recommend is around Christmas, with people off work and sort of like, there's a bit more downtime. You're kind of sitting around watching TV, you're kind of chatting, la la la. And again, this can lead to just like boredom eating. Whereas I try to use this time, extra spare time and mental space, to lay the foundations of a good New Year's habit. So, for example, last year I made the commitment that I was going to foam roll my IT band when I'm watching TV. And it just meant that, normally on a busy day, I don't have time to kind of like, okay, where's everything set up and la la la. Whereas Christmas time, everything's a little bit sort of slower and easier. So I went, okay, Grant. So each night we're typically watching a bit of TV. So I start foam rolling that. And that over Christmas, I kept at it. And then post Christmas, it kind of spilled over, and that became literally one of my habits. I just do it all the time now. So it might be 10 minutes of yoga in the morning. It might be, as I said, a little bit of extra stretching at night. It might be just forcing yourself to drink more water. Was it going for a head clearing walk around like this? You've got essentially like 10 days where you've got a little less stress and a little less work pulling at you. So just use that time to kind of start bedding in. I think they say if you do something for 21 days in a row, it starts becoming a habit. So use that time and think about it, what you need to do. Another do is definitely have an end date in mind when you're going to kind of stop being a non-triathlete, or let's call it a holiday triathlete. So where it's okay to kind of have only do one training session a day if you're normally using up to double days, etc. But do have an end date where you're going to get back into the routine, get back on the horse. And this might be, and again, for me, it has to be realistic. There's no point in sort of going, okay, right, the 30th of January, that's when I'm going. And go, well, hang on, there's New Year's Eve coming and there's a family party. Or it's a case of, all right, I'm definitely starting training again on the 2nd of January. And it might be a case where that's still a family day or whatever. So for me, it's kind of the first kind of Monday after all the holiday stuff has ended, that you plug yourself back in. You give yourself an easy day to ease yourself back in. You make sure you've mapped out your plan for the week. You've checked what's needed. You've got all your equipment in order. You know when the pool is opening. You've got your Zwift set up, whatever it is. But it's the good times are over. And as I said, you're staring down the barrel of a kind of a big build for the year, but it's going to be fun and all the rest. And you should be almost chomping at the bit to get back into the training, into the good healthy eating, etc., etc. But do have that date in mind. I kind of steal this a little bit from my off-season kind of feedback. We all should have had kind of our goal setting for the year and our off season, and we kind of plan and visualize. But now it's kind of almost, as I said, with kind of Christmas and holidays, you have a bit more time. So again, look back at that. Does the goal still seem realistic? Is it maybe you want to up the level? Maybe you want it, was it stretch out? Was it the time to do it? But making sure that it's still something that actually is going to get you excited. And again, look at what look ahead at what the training block looks like. Maybe sort of go, okay, actually, I think I'll probably actually be ready for a B race in whatever March, or maybe I'll look at a duathlon, etc. So use the time to visualize what you're going to do, and also to map out and sort of validate against where you think you are at the moment. It's rare we have these times where we have a lot of mental space and time to kind of do these things. So take advantage. Okay. Alrighty. So a couple of don'ts, and it kind of it kind of backs up the stuff I've just talked about. Don't sweat the mist or the juggle training. Garmin's going to tell you bad things. Garmin's going to tell you you're unproductive. Training Peaks is going to tell you your CTL is dropping, yada, yada, yada. We all know this is a temporary phase. We're not going to sweat it. We're going to, what's it call it? We're going to enjoy the time. We're going to spend time with our family. We're spend time with our friends. We're going to actually plug ourselves back into normal life, and we're going to enjoy it regardless. And again, soon enough, once you get back into the rhythm of it, Training Peaks and Garmin will start telling you all the good things. Don't skimp on sleep. This is a good time to actually sort of load up on sleep, especially if you've got a big base period heading down and was it coming down the track. It's the one area we kind of actually can really be healthy about during the holiday period, because I said it's back to, we don't need to be dialing into early work calls. We don't need to be commuting, yada yada yada. So let's use that in a kind of productive way. Have lots of lie-ins if you can, as in make sure you're kind of rest up. And where normally you're coming in after a hard year, might be like a lot of people have lots of commitments, kind of year end, etc. Enjoy. Make sure you do, and you get some good sleep habits in. Don't fight the elements. Again, this is mainly for a lot of the people in. Actually, I don't have any southern hemisphere, so this is our winter time. So if it is really, really crappy outside, don't go out. Don't stay indoors. Use a treadmill if you can. Use your Zwift if you can. We also need to remember that our immune system will be a bit low at this point in time. If we're coming off kind of like a decent training block, and we're going to be eating not as healthily as we possibly should as during this time, we don't want to kind of open ourselves up to colds, flus, etc. So, if it is nasty outside, find an indoor option if you can. Okay, and especially, and by the way, if it's anyway icy or snowy, don't play the hero, because nothing ruins a season like spilling a bike and actually kind of having a broken limb. We just don't want to be in that position, and that's all you'll remember in terms of what you'll get out of that year. Okay, the other thing is, don't lose too many good habits. As in, if you religiously get up at 6 or 7, and you always get something done in the morning, don't lose that too much. Even if you lie into 7, you're still maintaining that sort of discipline and that structure that you will actually still be able to get up early and get some stuff done. And again, if you other habits you have, if you do kind of stretch it first thing you get up in the morning, don't lose that just because it's the holidays, because the more you kind of let some of these things slide, it's harder to put it all back into place afterwards. So essentially, in a nutshell, I view the holiday period as it's a time to rest, and it's a time to plug back into family and friends. It's a time to be guilt-free in terms of we do slightly more unhealthy things that we would do, that we ease off our training, that we eat, a bit more crap, but we drink a little bit more than we would do. Don't sweat it. It's not going to derail your season. It's important to pour back into the family support. Have fun with them. Remind them who you were before you were a triathlete, and just enjoy it. And again, as I said, the big heavy lifting of your year will come down the track, but acting like a monk during the winter time when everyone else having a bit of fun and sort of indulging a little is not going to make that any easier. You'll just add a little bit of resentment you feel you missed out on. And if you do take this approach and apply and you hit your training plan, you hit your training goals and all the rest, you'll get your A goal. Whether you had an extra couple of beers at Christmas, no one's going to remember that. Okay, guys, as I said, it's gonna. Okay, I'm gonna hit the stop recording button, but that's the main part of, again, the common sense approach to a triathlete's guide to Christmas. I'm going to stop the recording now, and we're going to have a quick chat and a Q&A with the guys. And for those who didn't make it, have a very nice Christmas, and we will see you on the other side of the new year. Okay, so I'm going to stop that here and stop.